Oh my god, it works right away. Cool. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. Please start taking a seats. We will wait 2-3 more minutes, and then I will slowly start. I will ask someone on the stream, who I think one person there, to confirm that the sound is fine, and the stream is fine, and you can hear me clearly. And just write this in the chat, and we will start in a couple of minutes. Not yet, but yeah, just wait 5 minutes, and then I will start. Good point. Let me fix this. About 10 seconds from now, you should see the webcam. That was, yeah, actually without mic, that was one of the mistakes. When we actually had a nice audio coming through, now we actually have this audio coming through, but last time we had a proper audio coming through, but I have not clicked on transition, so we sent like, not even the background, just a black screen. So yeah, when you do streaming and presentations and a lot of things, you might miss a thing or two. So it became a podcast instead of presentation. Yeah. Let's give it 2 more minutes and then start like 10 straight. We have 3 presentations today. One's going to be short, and then 2 will be medium. And we actually have some participants. Yay! Yeah, let's do that. Because we have 2 minutes. Oh, it's full charge. Trying it. also hi everyone on the stream. Nice to have you all. And thank you for joining. This is actually our 5th event. So it's so much different every time in terms of we get different numbers of registrations, we get different number of participation, we get all the different people from completely, sometimes random, sometimes not so random places. So we're super happy to see you all here. And let me just start by talking about what we're doing here, or what we are trying to achieve, and what is our goal for the next, let's say, 5, 6, 7 events, and so. My name is Dan, and some of you might know me already pretty well, some of you might not. But under this ITM brand, I'm actually trying to resume what I've been doing for quite a while, is tech talks about important topics. Any topic could be important, just to make it clear. But the topics that I found interesting, and that the speakers that I can find that actually can communicate interesting messages to you guys, and also to everyone who is online. So yes, the goal of ITM is to provide a common platform so everyone could enjoy it, and everyone could also participate as a speaker. And I encourage you guys to try yourself, because you never get, to the state when you can actually present something and tell about some ideas and stories until you try it. It's super fun, super exciting, and you should definitely try it. So if you have anything interesting to talk about, just come to me after this event. But I'm a little bit diverting from the story. So what we are doing? So we are experimenting with different formats. So far, this was the only format, so like the presentation and then networking. But we are looking forward to including more people, increasing the audience. And at that point, we'll also have some activities for you guys to try and see which activities are the most exciting. Some of them are really, really awesome, so I'm really waiting for this community to grow. I know it takes some time, so hopefully in several months it will be larger and we can try these activities. And we need to follow the world. It's changing all the time, right? It's changing quickly. We need to try to follow, to catch up within the world. And here I'm hoping that we will find a place to communicate the best messages and the most interesting topics, and discuss them, not only to communicate, but also to discuss them like a platform for a discussion. So a bit more further in the future, I would like this to be like a like a puzzle piece out of the different other puzzle pieces that will make up for the cities of the future. Something similar like Liberstad guys does. And this button actually works. Okay, so Liberstad guys, super cool guys. Hello again if you're watching us. And we would like to make it a bit more standardized, a bit more structured. But this will, of course, also take some time. So this is future plans. This time, I made it right. So we have 3 different channels. If you want to follow us a bit more live, you can sign to them. This in the corner is the Telegram, and then we also have Facebook and LinkedIn, and the horrible links that Facebook and LinkedIn provide. So I just did this redirects. So you can just have the same form for all the social networks, and we will keep on having this form. Also, if you see any bugs on the website, just report to me, please, so I can fix them. Yes, we also updated the website part that gives the presentations, and we added the streams. However, we would just like to slightly improve on the streams, and we're still working on it. So don't judge us too bad about some of these. Some of them are just audio podcasts, some of them are pretty good. So you can watch the streams. You can also just look at the presentations if you understand. And actually, Gosha already took part in the first one here. You can see her. So thank you for coming again, and really happy to see you again. And actually, done some other presentations as well, just recently, right? Yeah, so this is exciting, and I'm hoping that more people will actually join and start speaking about what they think is important. We also need volunteers, especially for like streams, for other things. And if you want to help, talk to me or go to our website to see what you can do. For instance, these are things you can do. You can do posts, you can help us with videos, with photos, with speakers. This is also very, very important. Actually, speaking about plans, a bit more exact. First, let's speak about sponsors and partners, actually. So we are located at Rebel, so thanks Rebel guys to hosting us in here. This is an awesome venue, as you can see. Also thanks to our streaming partner with the equipment, also thanks to our media partners, and we hope that this slide will become a bit more crowded in the future. And speaking about the future, these are the current situation. So we are here today, and the next one in July, I think we should actually cancel it because of the summer vacation. So I was a bit tentative about that. Maybe make it last week of July, maybe not. But I think we should really cancel it and just move all the speakers to August, so we have like awesome August. So like the current one looks like that. It might still change if we have somebody jumps and saying, you know, we want to do this, we want to still to do the talk or something like that. We can adjust a little bit. But so far, that is the plan, and this will be the only date we skip, hopefully. The rest of the dates you can see, they are planned already, and we will try to keep them basically a third Friday or after the second part of the month. First Friday that occurs are these dates. All right. And what else? So yeah, I already showed these links to you guys. You can make a screenshot, or you probably know the website already. Maybe you've seen it, maybe not. If you have not, please go see it. So that's me. And maybe I didn't not talk enough because there's quite some new faces here. So I might just tell a little bit, just slightly more about myself. So background story, I also did a lot of meetups, but I'm also a crypto enthusiast. I do a lot of decentralized projects. I joined them as a developer, as a DevOps engineer. I actually work as a DevOps engineer in MasterCard recently, and I do a lot of different hobbies. I have hobby as a 3D printing, modeling, like design, architecture, a lot of different electronics, microelectronics, particular mining, nodes. That's I'm going to talk today. So a lot of different interests, and I'm feeling that there are a lot of people in Norway that also are having a lot of interest, but they don't share enough, so I'm trying to improve on that. I think that's probably the last slide, yes. So without further ado, we should just move right away to Gosha with her speech about JavaScript. How are you feeling, guys? Are you feeling cool and nice? Some noises from the audience? Yay! Okay, so do you want to swap for your laptop?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Let's try to do it right away and see how it works. All right, here is your clicker, and I will enable your sound. Okay, cool. Yay.
Oh, wow.
And here is it. And it will work if you have used you don't. Do it.
But it's okay.
You can do it from there. Yes, sure.
Okay, let me just untangle a little bit. Hello, everyone. My name is Gosha. As Dan mentioned, I've been here before. I don't know if there's anyone here who has seen the first presentation. Hi, nice to see you again. Yeah, sorry for my voice. It can disappear a little bit in the middle of my presentation. That's why I have my best friend for the day, which is water. So today we will be speaking a little bit about JavaScript and how weird it is. Or is it really weird? So me as right now we are living in an era of way too many information, aren't we? Well, that's a lot of light for one person.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my entire life I was thinking that I'm a millennial, but then I started scrolling through the Instagram, and it turned out that I'm actually a weird creature somewhere between millennials and the next generation that is coming after millennials. And sticking on topic of Instagram, this is actually a place that inspired me a lot for this talk. Because I used to spend a lot of time there, scrolling through reels, and both Instagram reels, shorts on YouTube, Even Snapchat has this weird reel thingy, and now the TikTok. They are all overloading us with tons of information. But sometimes it can be a trap. Like sometimes you have to be really, really careful what you believe in when you're looking at it. I'm not, of course, it's not only about JavaScript at this point. But this doesn't end. So here's where I would like to stand up and maybe act as a devil advocate and try to explain that JavaScript might not really be as weird as we think it is, or as it's being sold by people on those social media. So how many of you know those guys? Okay, cool. So we will play a little bit, and we will put our Mythbusters hats on right now and do a very, very special edition, JavaScript special. And we will try to figure out together if JavaScript is this weird for real or not. So before we start, I would like to make a quick survey. How many of you have written anything in JavaScript? This one small piece of code. Okay, how many of you have heard of JavaScript? Okay. So, hold on to your chairs, that will be quite a journey. And how many of you are developers and have some basic understanding of development content? Okay. That's a variety. So I hope that you will you will enjoy this talk, and I will try to adjust it a little bit. So the first thing is the essential. Sorry. Please don't go away. Just so first thing, how many of you have heard of ECMA or ECMAScript? Okay, so it's kind of a standard that is based on several, that is a standard for several scripting technologies, and is based on JavaScript and JScript. So as it's a standard, so JavaScript actually implements the standard and extends it with some more new functionalities. And this is it when it comes to essential, but I think that will be crucial here. But now we can move on to see like what are we actually facing. So what is our quote-unquote opponent? So JavaScript is used as a client-side programming language. In web development, we have two sides. Usually it's front-end and the backend, so everything that happens on your local machine in your browser, and then whatever happens on the server side. So JavaScript is the most popular client side, so whatever happens on our machine, programming language, according to surveys of W3 Techs. It's used in almost 100, but it's of course 89.8% of all the websites. Well, it has no competition, at least.
Is Flash still a thing?
Clearly. Yeah, they take into consideration also all the older applications. So yeah, it is the thing. I pulled up some numbers, so I will look into my notes right now because I'm terrible at remembering numbers. So there are 370,832,322 JavaScript libraries and functions detections on entire web in 2023. That's a lot. There are 6,537,89 JavaScript detections in the top million websites, also with libraries and functions. All of the leading browsers are using JavaScript, so whether you are using Chrome, Edge, Opera, Safari, Firefox, they are all supporting JavaScript. So the historical trend, something that I got is not really historical because it goes 1 year back, well, let's call it a history, but you have to believe me on my word that it was going on more or less evenly throughout the past years, if we go even further back. So you can see that JavaScript is used, it has been used pretty often, or a lot throughout the years. And last thing from the statistics that I have prepared, so I will not bore you with this much more, is that actually JavaScript is one of the preferred server-side programming languages. Maybe, I mean, it's in top 3, and I find it pretty impressive. Maybe it's only 3.4%, but still it's there, so it made it. So now that we know a little bit more about our opponent, hello everyone, my name is Gosia. I'm a fullstack.net/React developer at Sector Alarm Norway. As the name suggests, we are providing, I did something, okay, it's working. We are providing alarm systems. You might often see the later Sector Alarm, what's it called?
Logo?
Logo on the houses. It means that they have a system from us. I'm a co-author of DevOps Journey blog, devopsifyme.com, and also I like calling myself a friend of ITM meetups here in Oslo. I'm a mom to a lovely 2-year-old boy who is actually watching us right now.
Ooh.
So hi. And after work, and when I'm not playing with my son, I enjoy painting. I learn how to play piano and try to learn languages. Norwegian is a journey, definitely. I also started learning Spanish. But please don't talk Spanish to me. I mean, you can talk Spanish to me, but don't expect me to talk back, because that will not end well. Also, I like sharing one small random fact about myself. So those are watercolor paintings that I've done only recently, the 3 I'm most proud of. Really? Yeah, so that was very insightful, but let's move on to the core of my presentation. So Mythbusters, JavaScript Special Edition. Yeah, so let's figure out together if JavaScript really is weird, as they like calling it, or not. So, myth number 1. One thing, I have some demos, but I'm not sure if they will work, so you will be my guinea pigs for a little bit, and we will see. We'll have to go through this at least for one of my demos. So, equalities don't work as they're supposed to. Where is my content? Oh, here it is. I made an animation. So, as I said, the huge inspiration for this talk was Instagram, but then I started Googling, and it turned out that there is an entire GitHub repo dedicated for JavaScript and its old weirdness. So this is an inspiration that I found on Instagram, but then again refound it on that repo. There is a link over here if you would like to check it out. So, what we are doing here we are comparing 2 empty arrays with each other using 2 different equality operations, triple equality and double equality. And it returns false. At the first glance, when you look at it, it's like, should it really? There is 2 exactly the same looking things. And yet they are returning false. How come? And fingers crossed, the demo will be easy to get done, so let's give it a try. I have it started already, so I have to pull this over here. Okay, I can make weird faces right now because I have only a small, tiny little screen over there. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Oh, now you can see the error that I had before. Oh, well, it happens. And also we can pull up the actual result. So what do you see here? Or I hope you see here. What I prepared for us is a little very, very, very basic JavaScript codes, where we will actually be logging to the console the results of certain operations. The first two ones are the ones that are more interesting for us at this point, because they are showing exactly what I showed you a second ago on the slide. So let's see how they act. As you can see, the application is running already. So I will just add it here. And scroll it up. Just a tiny little bit. Here we are. So you remember the two first lines of codes. Yeah, we were checking if arrays are equal and if two objects are equal to each other. So this is what we're getting over here. They are not equal to each other, just to prove you that this is exactly what's happening in JavaScript. And this is really, really weird. Well, for someone who doesn't work with JavaScript, it might seem weird, and God, it was weird for me when I started my journey with JavaScript. Why is it so? Because we have two different comparison operators in JavaScript. The triple one, so the first one you can see over here, and the second one is just double. What's the difference between those? This one is comparing also the types. So if both operands are objects, this one will return true only if they refer to the same object in the memory. We will have a picture of that a little bit later to just illustrate it a little bit more. The second one, it tries converting to the same type. I'm sorry, my voice is leaving me slowly. So JavaScript, what it will do will be actually comparing object references, not the objects as we saw just a second ago. So is this really weird behavior? Well, it looks weird, definitely, but this is exactly how we want this to behave, right? So that we compare references, not the empty objects themselves, because we don't compare values. Okay, so we can move on to the second example, which is assigning values. It's weird. We have a beautiful piece of code here from the same GitHub repository where we have two variables to which we are assigning an object with just one property name. And then we are reassigning the object, let's call it that way, from variable A to variable B. And then we will change the name of the second variable, the newly created, the property value of the newly created variable, to sum, from Xi'an to sum, and then try the log, but name from the first object that we created. And now, if you were to guess, we don't have many developers, but maybe you might try to guess which one will we actually print. Will it be Shivam or will it be Sam?
Shivam, maybe? That was the original assumption.
That would be a very reasonable assumption, I would say, but unfortunately it will be Sam. Let's try to figure that out. Oh, that will be a lot. Did I just delete my code? Yes, I did, of course. So what I did is just doing exactly the same thing, just pasting a piece of code. So we cannot even call it coding. Let's refresh it. Refresh it again. And you stopped working, thank you very much. That's why I hate making live demos.
RT.
Okay. Let's see what's going on here right now. You still see the...
Isn't that the older page hosted now?
Hmm?
Looks
Sorry?
like the older page is still hosted, like the comparison JS. Have you saved it? I think you don't say, you have not saved the previous changes in the previous file.
Oh yeah, you're completely right, of course.
Yeah.
Now it looks better. Thank you. So as you can see over here, I can try and zoom in a little bit. The piece of code was exactly the same. And we got some as an output. Why so, might you ask? Why editing the new quote-unquote variable to which we assigned only caused the editing of the original one? Okay, we had demo. Alright, so let me move on straight to the explanation. So there is a concept of deep and shallow cloning. When you deep clone something, it will be over here, you will actually copy the value so that you will create a whole new object that will have a whole new place in the memory of your machine. Whereas shallow cloning will create a copy or a reference to the same object, but will be still assigned to the old value. That's why when we have it here, we create a shallow copy. But right, because we only assigned a kind of reference to the same object, to the same place in the memory. Can we do the deep cloning in JavaScript? Of course we can. So we can make it work. And now, is this a weird behavior? Is this weird now that you kind of know the explanation? Would you call this weird?
I guess it really depends on how you define weird.
Exactly. How you define weird, is it weird for you or not? But based on the document, of the saying silly things at this point, based on the explanation that I just gave you a second ago, I don't think this is weird behavior. It's just something that you have to know about JavaScript. And actually the same thing is happening not only in JavaScript but in all strongly typed languages like .NET. Exactly the same behavior. So now we are moving to something very, very cool, which is typos, or types in general. Sorry, just a sip of water before we go to this very fiery space and place. So in JavaScript we have something like a method that we can call to check the type of whatever we want to check type of. And here in the first place, in the first example, we are checking the type of undefined, and it's undefined. Then we can move on and check the type of null, which will be an object. Interesting assumption, I would say. And then for all of the other arty functions, string, number, object, function, boolean, it all will be the function. Sorry. I will have to skip demo for that because my phone is running out. So I will quickly go to the explanation. Why is this happening like that? I will overlook the undefined and let's go straight to the null explanation. So this kind of behavior can be tracked back to the very, very beginning of JavaScript, which, by the way, was written in only 10 days, which is pretty impressive to create a whole new language in 10 days. So the values in original JavaScript, they were represented as a type tag and a value. So what you can see here is 32 bits representation of a value. And the first 3 bits were storing a type. The other 29 are actually storing the value. So, okay, yeah. So the first 3 bits are data type representation, and the rest is value, as I said. So it was like 110 was a boolean, 010 was a double, 100 was a string. It's cool. But null typically means that something is empty, that there is anything, that there is nothing, basically. So how would it look like if we take this and fill it with zeros? Well, we will have data type representations of only zeros, and values will be only zeros as well. So naturally the interpreter thought that this is a type. That's why type representation, right? Not the value, because that's how the language was created, to interpret bits in this specific way. That's why null ended up being an object. Funny story, I know. And now to all the rest. So the identifiers, as we can see here, the string, the number, object, function, boolean, are not class names, as those of you developers might be used to from the strong type, from other strongly typed languages. But they are, like, for example, object. Object is an object on its own in the constructor of an object. So it's a reference to a function, really. To further complicate this matter, JavaScript functions are also objects, which may have their own properties. And those properties are often used to add methods to the objects. Oh, and I just said everything, forgetting. Yeah. Sorry for that. I'll have to skip that. So, is this weird? Well, many people, especially around null, there are a lot of discussions, and this is considered a bug in JavaScript. There was even once introduced the fix for that, but interestingly enough, this was rejected because of the backwards capability that has to be maintained. So let's say that this one is confirmed, because maybe it's not weird, it's for sure confusing, especially for someone who is just starting their adventure with JavaScript. And myth 4, which I think will be the last I will be talking about, sorry. What the array? What is wrong with those arrays? So example that I had a lot of problems with sorting, concatenating arrays together when I started my journey with this beautiful language. An example that I found on Reddit this time, it's actually part of a comment, I didn't put the name, but someone commented like, why is this sorting working like this? Why there is 1, 10, 2? This is not the correct order. And then someone, I understand that happens, why that happens? Right? It's still pretty fucked up, but okay.
This is actually not only JavaScript as well. This is even Bash and many other languages does it the same way. Even file managers sort files like that sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that hit me with this comment was like, cool, I'm happy you understand. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit when you're writing? So maybe that someone can actually learn from it and doesn't have to go through the entire documentation. And the explanation for that is very, very simple. It's because sort function sorts values as though there were strings. So what we see here in the first array, all over here, for us it looks like numbers, integers, longs, whatever. But for this little beauty over here, those are strings. And one will be before two, string-wise. I will have to skip it up, sorry. Another thing is this concatenation of two arrays. Oh no, I will have to show you this. Let's dig into that, because this is the one that I did only in demo. I can hardly see anything from here, but let's give it a try. We have arrays over here. We want to copy this out. I'll make sure to save it. Lessons learned. And we want to see this, for example. Let's see just one example so that this is all we need really to understand. So what we are doing here is simple console logging, adding, so concatenating two arrays together. So what I would expect at first, and I expected this when I only started working with JavaScript, that I will get an array with 6 elements in it. Yeah, that would be lovely to get. But this one please. But this is what I got. Array of 5 elements, one of them suddenly is 34, for whatever reason. I mean, I will give you the reason in a second, but when I only started, I was like, what? Really? Really, you are doing this to me? Right now, I have a deadline. I have to get my work done soon. So what happens here is that actually JavaScript is running for us the toString. And so the arrays are being converted into string, and then those two strings are being merged together. Cool. That's why we end up with string number 1, string number 2, and the beautiful result with wrong bracing. Forgive me that, please. Can we fix it somehow? Somehow? Of course we can. You have several options. We can either add a dummy 0 element over here as a first element of the second array, or we can add an empty string as a last element of the first array. It doesn't really look that clean when you look at this code.
It looks horrible.
I was creative at this, okay?
Is there any other ways, or these are the only ways?
Yeah, there are other ways. But I don't know what's going on, but I will quickly jump into the code because I'm pretty sure I have it over here, which is this beauty all over here. So what you do is you actually deep cloning. We just learned about deep cloning a little bit. So you will be creating a new array with the cloned values of the first 2 arrays that we were supposed to merge. And I think that this is the cleanest way of doing that in pure JavaScript. So we are back here. And then theory number 5. Oh, I had it here as well. I have to be better at remembering what I put in the slide. So what would you say? Is this weird behavior? Confusing? Surely. So let's say that, I will say that this is confirmed, mostly because I faced it and I had to deal with it and I had to understand and learn it. I'm confirming that one. And as my voice is killing me, I will have to skip the number 5. But I promise that next time you have me, I will go back to this presentation and just do this one for you.
I would also be super happy to hear if you will tell us a story about difference between different types of zeros, like null, 0, and you know, that would be so cool.
I think I would jump out of the window sooner than make this presentation, actually. Actually, I was thinking about preparing a presentation about types as well in JavaScript. That would be a journey to go through it. Definitely. One day, maybe. Yeah, so sorry that I was sitting, but I'm still recovering from my, I will stand up for the summarize part. So, yeah, just to summarize and quickly wrap things up. We have to remember that the very first version of JavaScript, when all of the core concepts were implemented, was written in just 10 days. So there are some inconsistencies, some unexpected behaviors. Even though the lot of improvements has been introduced over the past years, right? But those improvements have to consider and take into the consideration the backwards compatibility. So we cannot just break the entire framework because we see that null type is buggy over here. We have to fix it because someone who wrote presentation website in JavaScript in the version 1, 2, 3, whatever of JavaScript, they might face issues, and we don't want to do that. Also, something that was mentioned here before, everything depends on the understanding of certain wording. So what I faced when I was preparing this presentation actually is that someone can call JavaScript weird because of subjective reasons. Like, I've been working with .NET, it's a strongly typed, great framework to work with. Cool, continue working with .NET, you have Blazor, you can write your front end in Blazor, leave JavaScript alone. So it's not bad, like bad is a very universal word here. Lack of knowledge, okay, I know it sounds arrogant, arrogant, that's the word. But it's not about being arrogant. It's about showing that I had to go through a certain journey to understand some concepts. And don't get me wrong, I don't get them all fully, at least not yet. It's a journey. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey. But sometimes you feel disappointed. So it's like people can say that, oh, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not cool. This is bad. But then with time when they are learning the reasoning behind the things, they tend to be like, well, okay, having that, taking that into consideration, it's like, okay, it might be not that, it might not be that weird. And believe, and taking something as a truth just because majority of people thinks that it's true, and majority of people thinks that this is weird language, so just following the crowd, not using your own brain. But this is also, this whole presentation, the confirmed and busted, you see that this is my personal perspective, right? This is opinionated thing. Maybe you would have chosen different path and chosen different answers to those questions. Okay, thank you so much for sticking with me. My disappearing voice.
Wait a second, don't go away. Guys, do you have any, would you survive a question or two?
Yes, I was.
Is there any questions? Is there any ideas, any discussion thoughts? No? All right. Then
Yeah, there is one question.
Oh, there is one. Okay.
But given this strange behavior, I'm pretty new to JavaScript.
Yeah.
It was just like this 30 minutes. That's my experience with JavaScript. But given this weird behavior of JavaScript, what make people choose about JavaScript?
Well, certainly for a very, very long time, it was the only thing to choose from. Right now, I don't think that anyone actually creates like the pure JavaScript front-end code. There are frameworks based on JavaScript that were much more popular, like React, Angular, Vue, and so on and so forth. There is TypeScript, that is a typed version of JavaScript. I hope that no one hates me for just. So I think that's the reason. Like, for a very, very long time, this was the only option that people had. There was almost nothing else, and if there was something, it was as React and Angular based on JavaScript, or because JavaScript gained so much popularity, it was no point in competing with that. That would be my answer, I think.
Is there more questions?
I would just like to mention that you have some stickers on the table, so if you would like, feel free to grab them. They are for you. And you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and also check out my DevOpsify Me blog.
Yay!
Yay!
Thanks a lot, Gosha.
Thank you so much.
Yes? All right, guys. How do you feel? Should we move right away to the last topic of today? Do you feel good? Or do you want a 5-minute pause? Who is for going right away? Who is for the pause? No one is for the pause? All right, so then we are continuing. Just give me 1 minute to connect back the laptop. Yes, thank you. And we will continue, this time with a little bit less of JavaScript, but it is still used in crypto, actually, in quite some projects. I guess because of frameworks and Solidity and several other reasons, maybe. Oh, it actually just worked. Nice. And also the clicker. It's cool that when it's reversed, like when it doesn't work before and it works during, it's awesome. All right, we can do this. I mean, yeah, you already did that. Great. So, speaking about crypto, basically I've been in this area for some time. And I've been always a crypto enthusiast and been looking into trying new things. That's like my thing, I guess. And it has been also quite a journey. And yeah, I also like bleeding edge stuff. So that's why I usually use Arch. You might not prefer it always for crypto nodes, but I'll come to this a bit later. So speaking about my history with crypto, it's been a long time. So I've been in this field from almost the very beginning, not entirely, the most beginning, not 2008, I guess, but about 2010, 2009. And I actually joined a lot of projects. When I was doing this research, I just realized some of the names, actually, because I forgot some of them. So actually, I did a lot of investment in 2013, not a lot, but some investment. And I sold a lot of these investments in 2016, most of them, almost everything actually. That was quite unsatisfying nowadays, but at that time it was a really good, portfolio and really good sale. And what else? I followed a lot of projects, as I said. So starting with the Namecoin and Litecoin and Peercoin and Ripple. Is there anyone who remembers like Namecoin, Litecoin, and Peercoin? Some of them. Oh, there's 2 persons. Okay, so this was unexpected. So Peercoin, and actually I just checked, and they are still alive. I mean Litecoin, of course, but these 2 they are also still alive. And of course, then there was NXT, there was a Prime Coin, Gridcoin, which is like a Boeing. If you're like a university researcher and you provide your computing power to a university, you get Boeing points. But with the Gridcoin, you could actually also earn Gridcoins. So it was like helping science to like find cancer treatment and also earn you some coins. It's not a lot, but it's fun. And actually, since Gridcoin, there have been several other projects that have done the same. There's also been 2015. During that time, there was Steemit was released. I found Bolas, which was a Steemit fork, made the same year, which was quite exciting.
And actually still, like a lot of blockchains say, oh, we are so fast, we can process 100,000 transactions per second. Oh my God, just leave me be. 2016, Steemit, they did it, like, I think they processed like 250,000 in a test or something, in a real scenario, and I think it can go with like 300, 400,000, and there's no single blockchain that's faster still, and it's actually a blockchain used for blogging. So if you're gonna write article, I actually wrote a lot of articles and actually bought my first electric car with earnings from that blockchain. So yeah, just wrote in articles. So that was quite a fun history, but again, this is not connected to nodes, this is just connected to my crypto history that I've been playing with, Tether, Zcash, Waves that time as well. Also Evercoin, awesome project, also suggested naming scheme a little bit similar to Namecoin, but better, and much better than Ethereum now does, and it was before Ethereum even happened. Anyways, sadly these projects are not that popular anymore because Ethereum overtook, and I don't know why, because I think this is the most horrible blockchain, to be frank. Not the most horrible, one of the most horrible blockchains. So there was Rootstock in 2017, there was EOS, which was a improved version of Steemit, but actually it wasn't, so it didn't actually fly. Steemit is still alive, Ghost is still alive, in a bit different shape, but still there was a couple of different projects. There was Ogor in 2018, still alive as well. I think all of them are still alive. One or two projects died, but most of them survived. And yeah, recently, I would say Solana, all right, Solana, of course. So yeah, that was the history of my crypto journey, like a super short-term history, of course. Let's move to the topic of the presentation. So let's say we want to make a node. We want to try to, what is a node first, right? It's a server, it's equipment. It can be your phone, it can be any physical equipment that hosts same copy of the software, or it's supposed to be same at least, as everybody else, with the small exceptions of different wallets, addresses, and that's it. The rest of the software is the same. The software itself underlying is the same. So you run a node. Okay. So let's say we want to have a node, and why would you run a node? Well, there's a lot of reasons. I will come to them a bit later, but main two are basically you want to research this topic and want to try, and the second one you want to earn some money. So these are two main, but there are of course more reasons. So what are what you need to check, what you need to think about when you are considering making a node, right? So you need to try to answer some of these questions to yourself, basically. What's your interest? Are you awaiting some return on the investments? What do you want from it, basically? So you answer some of these questions. You make your own question sheet. And you need also to answer some heavy questions, like hardly anyone can answer these, right? Are you ready to wait? You might need to wait a week, you might need to wait a month, you might need to wait a year or 2 or 3. So how long are you ready to wait? Where you want to run it? Are you ready to be a volunteer or not? Do you have enough skills? Is there anyone who have enough skills? Do you have enough money to pay them if you need to? So there's a lot of questions, and but this is the most important one. So Dior, as I say, it's Dior. So do your own research. It's probably one of the most popular crypto slang words, right? So always, whenever you come to any project, doesn't matter if you want to invest just in project or if you want to make a node. Basically, making a node is like double investment in a project, because you might have to put some money into it, or at some point even a lot of money. And then you also need to provide the support, you also need to provide the software. So you're doing several things. So you need actually to do a proper research, right? So how do we do the research? Yes, so again, we look at different points. I already talked about research in different presentations before, maybe you've heard it. If you have not and you want to check out later, you can look at the streams. But basically, you need to verify some of these points. Ideally, you need to verify all of them, but of course, not everyone is perfect, and you might not have enough time. So then you decide which points are the most important, but I will pinpoint for you. You will need to at least understand what the project is doing. Are they providing, blockchain for grandmas? Or are they making something really neat, like really important? Maybe they're making Uber on blockchain. Why would you make Uber on blockchain? Who knows? Maybe Uber knows. Maybe no one knows. Maybe we shouldn't. But it's a point to try, right? So try to understand the idea, what they are doing, and can you retell this idea to a friend, and then ask friend what I just told you, and then see if you get the same result, like with the JavaScript, right? If you have 2 equal signs or 3 equal signs, so just double check from your friend if this project is still, if it sounds like doable, if it sounds realistic, right? So verify, check the team. You need at least to check the team. This is very, very important. So check the team. Some of lazy people can stop here. So just do the project check, the team check, and you can stop here. But those who want a bit deeper understanding, go forward to a roadmap. So of course, any manager will tell you that to manage something, you need pipelines, you need work, you need processes. So then you need a roadmap. So if you have a solid roadmap, that's good. Do you actually have a good community? Because in crypto, you will never grow if you don't have a community. But the community is 2 things. There is internal community and there is external community. This is very important. There is some differences, there are some overlaps, but you need to have a strong developer community inside of your project, ideally, as well as outside. You need to have a strong, either a marketing team or strong support from people like you, right? So, is there a community? How large is it? Okay, is the software streamlined? Is it updated frequently? Does the project align with your vision? Do you feel it fits in your vision? Do you want to invest in nodes or in itself because it aligns with your mission, or you are actually thinking not to do it? All right? Is there a market? Is there anyone to sell this idea, to get the traction, to get more users, to onboard more users, and so on and so forth? Are there any risks? And also, is there any competition? Because if there is no competition, you might say, you know, there's no competition, we will win the space. Most likely, if there is no competition, there is no requirement, and there is no request for that, right? So, unfortunately, if you have no competition, maybe you're doing the wrong thing. So check the competition, what they're doing, how they're doing. And of course, I said that already, ask for friends' opinions, add your own steps. This is quite important. You should always add your own steps and your own metrics to the research you're doing, right? Because these steps are some of my ideas, but you might have more ideas. You also can make these metrics like physically grounded if you really want to. You may make numbers. You may say, okay, 25 developers. If it's less, I'm not going to even look at it. Okay, $10,000 in the project, or like $100,000 in the project invested by some large company, or I would not even look, and so on and so forth. So you do some metrics, and then you make these metrics as a cut. So if this is under your metric, you don't invest unless you have no other options, right? If you are like a bit bored and you have extra money, you might invest, or you might get a node. But if you don't, then you probably should invest first in the project that you believe in. All right. So, what else we do need? We also need to understand that all of these projects, not all of them, some of them are scams, some of them are just not planned yet, or not yet planned scams, that could also be, or something else. But most of good projects, they do have a philosophy behind them, right? So, you could also read about the project and see if they do have a philosophy, and actually if you have a philosophy of helping, if you want to be a volunteer, if you want to run a node, right? If you really want to do it, so take your time, read and understand the details of the project and the philosophy behind the people who are working with this project, and is it really interesting to you, like from a theoretical standpoint, so to say, a bit less practical. Then moving to the practical, for the practical one, we do have different node types, right? And the different node types always have different requirements. By the way, out of this room, is there anyone who tried running any kind of node? Okay, so there's two, 3 hands, something like that.
Node.js good enough?
Huh?
Node.js.
Yeah, no, Node.js is also a node. So yes, I was waiting for your hand. Okay, so then I guess 3/2, yes. And all right, so actually, for running a light node, you don't need a lot of stuff. So it can be small and simple. You can run it from your laptop, like a JavaScript environment. Like even an older machine can totally support light node. Then there are full node, but don't be fooled. Most of the projects call full nodes, but they are not. This is just like your examples, right? But just keep me on that one. Then there's an archive node, and they also call themselves archive, but usually if you dig into the archive node, first of all, you will need a lot of space. Let's say you have a terabyte, no, that's not enough. With most blockchains would need, I don't know, for archive node, probably 4 terabytes at least, or more. And they're gonna say, yeah, for our archive node, we need 4 terabytes. But you know what? Most of the modern blockchains that have been working for 10 years or more, they are already much more than that, much more than 4 terabytes. So if the archive node says, like, let's say Ethereum, it says 4 terabytes of space, just know that it's not a full archive node. It's a cut, it's a stripped down version. So it's sort of like, it's a little bit stripped, it's not fully stripped. So there is a really full archive node, and there are some circumstances when you might want it. What does it mean? Basically, a really full archive node means it contains block 0. It contains the block 0 when the blockchain started. And it might hard fork several times after that. Doesn't matter, but from the block 0. And most of the blockchains are so freaking heavy, nobody want to host them. But if you are, let's say you are a forensic researcher and you want to see, okay, who is Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Something like that. You might need the full archive node. That is almost not a part of any project. You'll have to dig into the code. You'll have to make it like a real node. Anyway, there's also miners that doesn't even include any history. Usually, they might include like a couple of blocks, like current block, previous block. But miners usually don't care too much about that. And then there are special nodes. Special nodes, they have a special requirements in terms of what they need, right? So obviously miner nodes need computational power. Special nodes might need networking, might need hard drives, might need CPUs, might need everything, might not need anything. Might need you to walk, actually. Nice example would be Steppen or Sweatcoin projects. That actually you just walk and sort of your mobile phone GPS tracker is your node that you're running. And then you get this node like confirms your steps with Google Feet, I guess, or Apple Feet or whatever it's called in Apple. And then this converted to coins and then it gets transferred to your actually private crypto wallet. So in that regards, it's like a special type, your phone is a special type of node, right? It would be, I guess, something between special and staking, maybe, if it has a staking function. So, let's go through some of physical examples. So, well, the hardware requirements. So, first of all, we will say CPU is a hard requirement. So, if you don't have any processing unit, you wouldn't be able to run any code, right? So, you would definitely need a CPU or GPU if you're planning to mining something. Or if you plan to render AI workloads, you might go with the GPUs, but it depends on the blockchain. Other than CPU or GPU, you of course need RAM. So, example before I told you about Steemit blockchain, if you remember, which is super quick with a lot of transactions every 3 seconds, like, I don't know, 500,000 or something like that can be transferred. So it's probably similar to Visa performance or something, maybe also similar to MasterCard performance, not exactly sure. But this node, why is it so powerful? It actually eats a lot of RAM. It actually needs minimum of 64 gigs of RAM. So you might need a server here and there, like this one, for instance, something similar. Yes, but other than RAM, what else do you need? Of course, you need disk. You not always need NVMe or SSD. You sometimes can go with a hard drive. That's also fine. But of course, the quicker you go, the faster you can sign the transactions, the faster you can verify the transactions. So it really depends on the speed of the blockchain. So with the Bitcoin blockchain, you can definitely go with a hard drive. With a bit more fast blockchains, like especially some roll-ups on Ethereum or something like that, you might want to go with SSD or even NVMe. But then again, the price of these are so different. Like you can get 20 terabytes for like 200, 300 bucks or 2,300 NOx. Yeah, that's correct. And then this one is more than twice smaller, but it costs about 1,000 bucks. So then 10,000 NOx. So the difference is quite high, but of course speed difference is like even more than that. So you might want to go for something better. And again, the price for NVMEs and SSDs drop really quickly, and for hard drives drops even quicker. So you might want to start some nodes. Actually, for hard drives, there is a project called Chia, and there's some other projects that uses hard drive as like a proof of storage, and then you earn some money with just providing some space for the network. Sometimes this space is really used, sometimes it's just used as a proof. But yeah, it's up to philosophy. Me personally, I think when the space is wasted, actually Chia sort of wastes this space, I feel it's not really a good thing. But then again, if this space is actually used by, let's say, some cloud lords, then it's actually good because you are renting your space, why not? And you're actually doing it in a decentralized network, which means you don't involve any centralized parties, which means you don't pay, extra commissions to any, Google, Apple, and so on and so on and so forth. So it's quite nice to do that for people. And then, of course, you need a network. You don't actually need a high bandwidth network. If you have it, cool. But what is more important, two things about network. Small pings, just like in gaming, basically, or in streaming. And what else? Stability. So you want a slower channel, but smaller pings and more stable. But unfortunately, usually, if you want a stable channel with smaller pings, it would be something like optical network, and it will probably be like 100 gigs or 10 gigs, or you might not be able to connect to these speeds as a private person. Unfortunately, I cannot personally understand why companies can connect to internet with these speeds and private persons cannot. Hopefully this will be solved soon, but right now I think private persons usually limited to like a gigabit, sometimes maybe 2. And also like some protocols limitations, of course, like DOCSIS protocol is really, really weird and really bad. But hopefully we'll move to pure optics and pure copper, and then that will be a bit better. Moving along, so this is the whole list of requirements. Not a whole, but this is like the most points, right, that I just talked about. And usually you don't really need to invest that much money into making a decent node. So going about, switching a little bit and talking about strategies, how would you actually strategically plan your investment? As I always like to say, there are several risk-reward ratios that you can go with, and of course, low risk, low reward, medium risk, medium reward, high risk, high reward. It's always like that in real life, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on your point of view. And of course, I would say if you're new in this area, and if you want to try, go with something between these lines. I personally go usually something between these lines because I feel I'm excited about new projects. I want to try new projects, and this is usually in the top tier. But again, if you have equipment already, if it works already, and you're just going to share a little bit of it, it doesn't make too much of investment. For me personally, I can expand it actually. I'm going to expand it a bit further, so I'm not going to talk about it right now. So I would say, I think like that. If the node that you are considering running doesn't look like it requires a lot, just run it. Don't think too much about it. Look a little bit at the team and the website and then just run it if you can. That's great. If the node requirements are medium, and again, medium for everyone is different, but for me, medium is like 8 to 16 CPU cores, so most of the modern laptop even can do that. 6 to 16 gigs of RAM, whatever, 100 gigs of hard drive, 500 gigs of hard drive, something like that. I would say most likely just run it if you can do it, if you want, or maybe just run it when you don't use your device, right? And then when you're using it, don't run it, so stop it, that's totally fine. And well, if the requirements are really high and basically you need a separate server for this project, unless you are part of the team of this project, then I guess you will do it, but if you're not, you might not consider it. And I'm usually not considering it if it requires new equipment and new investments, other than the equipment that I plan to buy anyways, right, to improve. So basically, like grounding up a little bit into physical money and seeing what we can do. So on Film, I found like this server. I actually made some photos, but I forgot to add them on this slide. And I found this like 30,000 kroners server that was 64 cores, 128 threads. It was AMD EPIC. 1 terabyte of RAM, 40 terabytes of hard drive space, actually 4 network ports, so 2 network cards, and a pretty nice case, silent case by the way, so you can actually use it in your home lab without any problems, without any noises or anything like that. And yeah, I also get a couple of NVIDIA Teslas just laying around, so I'm planning to add it there. And this is not a lot of investment if you consider that actually this server can easily support 20 or more different project nodes, even more than that. And if you consider over-provisioning, meaning giving a bit more resources than you can, because you can't do this in tech, and most of the time it works fine until everything goes on fire. But a lot of data centers actually do that on purpose, because if they don't do it, they have a situation where they have a lot of equipment and it's not used. Nobody wants that. Oh my God. So if you bought an equipment, then the equipment becomes your investment. And if you have an investment, what do you want to do with investment? You want the investment to make you more money, right? Not just to stay and use your money, use the electricity, use cooling, and do nothing. So a lot of data centers actually over-provision, and then some data centers make a system about provisioning when the over-provisioning is too high. So what means over-provisioning? Let's say I run 20 projects and they need 1 terabyte of server RAM, and I have 1 terabyte. So that's still fine. Most of these projects are inactive. But then I run 10 more. So now I have 30 crypto nodes. Most of them are inactive. I mean, they are active, but they are not consuming too much. So it's still fine. But then I have 40 nodes. So it's like double provisioning. And it still works, but then 7 projects out of these 40 becomes very active. And they start transacting all the time. My network jumps, my hard drive space disappears, and then basically I'm over-provisioning and I don't have capacity to over-provision anymore. My CPUs are like 100% load, they kick off a lot of heat, and eventually the server dies. Well, wow, I mean, it wouldn't, but if we do it for 25 years, it will die. Even maybe without the load, but regardless, usually servers don't die, so that's why we can over-provision. And anyways, so usually you can a little bit over-provision, so you can actually run quite a lot of nodes for this amount of money. And moving to some, again, grounded physical examples, let's say you decided to use either your laptop or a server or something to run a node. And if you want to do it properly, of course there's many ways, and I will talk about improper way a bit further, but let's talk about proper first, just to make it a bit cleaner. So then you will need a hypervisor. Why you need a hypervisor? Because you want to run VMs, right? You don't want interference too much, so you can of course use Docker, but Docker provides a level of isolation that is good, but is not always good enough. So I would say just go with XAM as a safe bet and XCPNG. You can also go with, like, there's like literally more than 20 options. They are all open source, so you are don't have to pay anything. You can look at all of the code, so it's actually quite fun. You can just do your own project based on this project if the license allows. Usually it does. And don't go with VMware, because Broadcom just bought VMware, and what they did, what large companies always do, they closed. The VMware ESXi was like, they had a private, limited, free tier that you could use at home to some extent. Now they don't, because they got bought by Broadcom, and Broadcom says, you know what, we're not going to invest anything. They didn't say that, but by doing so, they said, we're not going to invest in community, we don't give anything about the community, and we're just going to close this project, we're not interested in it, we're just going to take it and make it only paid solution. So you need to buy it now. So there is like an announcement there, I can send you a link later. So we'll just ignore that, but there's still a lot of options. I would say first 5, 6, 7 are awesome. These ones I like. VirtualBox is also nice, but then these are, some of them I know a bit less, some of them I know a little bit more, but I personally use this one, and I'm going to show it to you so you guys understand. So this is the website, and actually, like, a lot of open source projects are like that, and I think that's actually quite cool, because when you have a large hypervisor, to be frank, it's probably second hardest product in open source world. Why is that? Because there's kernel development. Kernel development is probably, it's debatable, but at least for the Linux kernel, I would say it's probably the hardest, like heaviest task you can do, especially if you're going to do all the levels in the kernel. Then it's really hard. And hypervisor sits sort of above the kernel. It's like, it's both below and above. It's hard to explain unless you're tech, right? But hypervisor, so it's really hard piece of software. It's hard to write, it's hard to manage. It's a large piece of software usually. So what these guys in Xamda did, they actually have an Xen project, which is a Linux Foundation project, which is just a pure CLI only hypervisor. So you would need command line to use it. It doesn't have any management. It has some management tool, but very basically management tool. Then, if you want to go a bit further, there's Xen Orchestra, is like a community, a separate community, a bit separate community. So from here we move here. And this Xen Orchestra is like a bit more completed solution, but it's not yet completed. Then we also add XCPNG, which is a sort of like a visual GUI web UI for all of these two projects. So then you can actually experience your VMs through some web UI instead of having to write the code. Sometimes you might need the code if you want to pull something from Git and write something from Git. In Pure, you might as well go to Bosch in this case, it's pretty good with that. But if you don't really want always to write code and make it run from Git, but sometimes you want to do things manually, sometimes you might want to do things from Git, then Xen is your good bet. So let's look at Xen. This is my home lab setup. So I just show you some examples. And basically, normally you just make the tunneling, you get a proper rights and authorization, and then you can access it from wherever you like. So this is like your private data center, right, with your rigs. Actually, I have not shown it, but you can connect. This is like one node. So this is my one server. This is the one server actually. And these are the VMs that are running on top of it. So it could be any VMs that you like. I have Arch here, I have Ubuntu, I have Debian, Alma 8, Alma 9. So whatever you like, any OS, you can run Windows there and Mac OS as well if you like to. Maybe for Mac OS need some hacks, I'm not sure. But definitely you can run some of this stuff in there. And then this is how the node looks. So this is the threads, this is the space, this is the network, this is aggregated stats. So you can see right now these, how many I've got? 3s, and some of them are disabled. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these 8 nodes are just consuming about 1/10 maybe. So in that regards, it can scale. But just to be clear here, this is not really demanding projects. But these are some interesting projects that you might want to try to run. And most of them actually you can run from laptops. If you're not going to run that much, you can just run one. Then you can do it from laptop, maybe 2. So this is how it looks. This is a bit more in-depth situation with the kernels. So you can see that most of these nodes, they are running, and they are not doing anything most of the time. Sometimes there are some activity in the network, I guess beacons coming in and stuff like that, but it's not a lot of the load actually. So I definitely could over-provision system here, and I under-provision it by much. But this server I just got recently, sort of, like a month or so. So I'm still working on it. I still have not decided if this Xen is the way to go. It's very nice utility, and XCPNG, this interface that you're seeing is actually not Xen, it's XCPNG. It runs on top of Xen and Xen Orchestra. And Xen Orchestra is kind of like a cluster solution where you can run a lot of nodes. So you can actually run multiple servers and have them all in one, like a data center. Basically, data center does the same. I can tell you that this solution is actually taken from my previous job because I kind of liked it there. I think this is a proper solution that they made there. It's very good. So it's NEP, the company was NEP, and they use this for part of their internal networking. So internal, not only networking, internal computation. Yeah, so most of the part was internal, some part was of course cloud, but you can make your own cloud, so you don't always need the cloud, right? Okay, so there's some nodes. There's 2 nodes here I want to make. First of all, there's if you're in, how much deep you're into tech, guys, so I just understand. Who is pretty good at tech, you know, just in general, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm not gonna drag too much, but basically there's some nodes, like let's say you cannot always run a virtual machine inside a virtual machine. So that's called nested virtualization. You have some limits here, so you might want to look at these limits if you really want to do that. And why I'm talking about it, if you run a server from Amazon, it's already Amazon's hypervisor. If you're gonna make it your own hypervisor, most likely Amazon will not allow that. So they, either by the design or like by function, it could be by permissions. So there may be several reasons why it's not working. But most of the time it's not physically working. Sometimes it can physically work, but it's disallowed by the policy, and so on. So you basically might be limited, but you don't always need to run nested VMs, right? Just a small node. Then another important note, this is very clear. If you're going to run a lot of nodes like I did, you might want some monitoring, because Xen is sort of a monitoring tool. It does alerts actually a little bit. It shows you stats, but it's not made for this purpose. So if you're going to run 10 or more nodes, let's say even 5 or more, you might want a separate monitoring solution that will send you alerts to your phone when something goes wrong, you know, just controls everything,
and just follows. So I have here some examples. So Zabbix, Nagios, Grafana. You can also go for some paid solutions if you really like to. There are also specialized solutions just for crypto nodes that are super easy to deploy. So you might want to look at that. So again, what I already said, if you want to go to a bit slimmer solution, smaller solution, let's say you run on your laptop or on your desktop, then you might want to consider just using your normal OS. But by normal OS, I mean usually Linux. You can always run also on Mac or Windows, but you are pretty much limited to whatever developers are made for these platforms. While everything is made for Linux in the crypto world, okay, 99.9% maybe, something like that, and then the rest, it depends. So a lot of things are also made for Windows, a lot of things are made for Mac, but it's much less, especially on the node side, because the nodes are servers and servers are usually running Linux, and anyways, sort of Mac is like a FreeBSD derivative at some point, or Unix derivative at some point, so it's not that far, so to say, and Windows have this VSL layer nowadays, right, or WSL, so you can go around it, and you can run on them as well. So if you don't want to run something large, like a lot of nodes, you might try some of these projects. These are just some examples, like Mist nodes, super simple, super easy, cross-platform, you can run it almost everywhere. Just go to their website and download the node, run it, try to play with it, get some crypto. And doesn't use a lot of network bandwidth, doesn't use a lot of disk space or anything like that. Coin node, this is a new, Mist node, by the way, is old project. It exists for many years. I am not sure how many, but quite a lot. Coin node is a very new project. It's based on Solana fork, if I'm not wrong, and a pretty recent one. And they are making a testnet, but it's already working. And it's already like they have a client for that, so you can actually use a desktop client. I should actually edit some screenshots here, but I didn't. But there's also some other things you can do. You can also start, these are Gamer Hash and Nice Hash. These are graphical utilities that you can use for mining nodes. So if you want to mine crypto, you can use these tools. Oh, actually, I installed the screenshot, so nice. So this is how the core node looks. So you see, it's like it's sort of Electron web-based, but it's application. It's like a separate application. It has tasks, so it's sort of similar in that regards to Boeing, which I already mentioned. But Boeing is much older. Boeing is actually from '89, so it's a really old project, and or even before that, it's from Berkeley, and this is like more modern solution, and this is purely crypto solution, so quite interesting. And they're in testnet now, and they're promising whatever coin you earn in testnet, they're gonna carry along, and you will get 1-to-1. So if you get 10,000 coins for the mainnet launch, you will get the same amount, 10,000 coins. There, of course, it might be not very expensive. It might be, who knows. But if you keep it for some time, it probably will worth something. So here's the advice for you. Also, if you want referral links, I can send you later. Just catch up with me on the networking part. All right, so other than these examples, I actually made a list of some other projects that there are so many. Just to be clear here, like speaking about cryptocurrencies, there's more than 25,000 cryptocurrencies nowadays. Some of them are tokens, yes, but over 1,000, several thousands, they are separate cryptos. Then on top of these separate cryptos, there's like tens of thousands of tokens in each of the blockchain. So it's such a large market, it's incomparable. It's like comparing one language to, you know, million languages or something like that. It's really a large area. So what I would say, these are just some advice. These are some projects that I actually run. These are some projects that I plan to run. And most of them are new. But this one in particular is not that new. Some of them have been for a while, but sometimes they relaunch. Sometimes they do airdrops, some new announcements, etc., etc. So they might be interesting to join, even if you are not joining from the very beginning, sometimes. So look through this list, and if you find anything interesting, you know, read the website and try to look at it. All right, what else? You don't always need a lot of equipment. Sometimes you can run your node with a mobile phone, as I already mentioned, for Stappen and Sweatcoin. Sometimes you even might go with Raspberry Pi, like you don't even need a screen, but you can have a fancy screen if you want to. So you can run
Lightning network. You can run some of the nodes that I mentioned before, not all of them. Of course, the Raspberry Pi doesn't have a lot of computational power. However, beneficial that the Raspberry usually eats 2, 3, 4, 5 watts of power. What does it mean? You can just put a solar panel, like a small battery, and then this system you can just put in your heater, somewhere really, really far. So it will just work as far as there is a network connection, or if it needs it, well, of course, maybe you're just having a local network shared, but regardless, usually it needs a connection, so you need to solve the connection, but other than the connection, it can be self-sustained, it can support itself. So in that regards, I cannot run my server out of solar system unless I have a solar power plant. But for this small guy, you can run him from your phone. You can run him from your phone charger. You can run him from power bank. You can run him from a small wind generator or solar panel. So you can put him anywhere, ideally if you have a network there. So there are a lot of possibilities for running nodes, and some of these possibilities, some of these things you might not actually feel they are there until you found them. Okay. So more useful links here. First couple of them are very much dependent. So they are about nodes, hosting nodes, renting nodes, and stuff like that. While the other links below, some of them are just general crypto links that you might know already or you might not. If you don't know them yet, please get used to them. They are very important. These three in particular, and these two if you're gonna mine. So they are simple websites that does coin listings, so you can see a lot of different coins, prices, mining hash rate, mining calculations if you're gonna mine. You don't always have to mine if you run some node. Sometimes you just do the signing. Most of the time you just do the signing, right? Validation of transactions. So this is for those who have kind of extra power with GPUs or anything else to actually provide mining as well as validation for the networks. So, speaking about learning curve, it can be sometimes feel that you don't understand something, not understanding it fully, and you might need to read a bit more about that and hear more about that. So there are a lot of online documentation that you can follow, always quite good documentation usually with these projects that provide notes, so you can read through the documentation and understand how to launch it. If you cannot understand this documentation of the project, you might go and read about just in general, tech. How do you actually, what is file system? What is networking? How the networking works? How the file system works? Some basic stuff. You don't have to dive deep, just some basic understanding. After you get this basic understanding, you can start learning about this crypto project. You can start deploying nodes. You can also find some material like courses or something. So I have a friend that actually hosts events through his school, and he have his lections and slides shared on GitHub. So he kind of does something similar. Right now he's located in Poland, actually. He moved there some time ago, and he is doing this activity. So a lot of people actually does activities like that, and this is kind of nice, right? Okay, so how much money you can actually earn? So this is the question. This is the question that I usually get asked, so I just wrote it down. This is actually almost the end of my presentation. So, is there any thoughts? How do you think, guys? I'll ask you first before trying to answer this question myself. Is there any suggestion? You can just shout loud. Yeah.
You can run a node without being a validator also. So
Yeah.
not really earn money, but it can be useful.
That's correct. That's correct. You don't have to invest, a lot of time you don't have to invest anything, but let's say if you want to either invest or you want to earn, how do you think, what's your income would be? What your income could be? What would be your bet? 3 to 5% per year. So depending on your investment then?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great answer. Is anyone else? Like, you can also mention not percentage, but like hard numbers if you want, like,
5,000 kroner.
5,000 kroner, right assumption? Okay, so let me give my answer then. Here. I'm sorry to disappoint, but realistically, it literally depends on what you do and with what nodes. But of course, you can say, okay, come on, but what is like some of the examples? So, okay, I have some examples here. So these are just randomly taken, so don't take them with a certain grain of salt. And always think also about electricity and your time well spent configuring. Of course, you earn knowledge, which is awesome, I think. But some people might not want knowledge. I don't know, if you don't want it, maybe you shouldn't do it. But yeah, so maybe you earned, well, let's say 24,000 in one of the node projects. But how much you invested? That's also important, right? Then we can go to the percentage. I would say average investment baseline would be not in the node itself, but like total equipment plus if there is a token requirement, the total investment average. I would say $500 maybe. So if we consider like you can get an older laptop, you can get a node that doesn't need any coins to start. So you can start with 0 coins, or they have a testnet faucet that will give you the coins to kick off the process. So you get the coins for free, then you start your node, and then you perform. Some of these nodes, and more realistically, they will probably provide you with a bit lower numbers. But still, at some points, I actually got some stories about, not in this slide in particular, but sometimes people launch nodes of a new project not expecting anything, and I really know that people, and they was like, I can earn $500, that's okay for me. And then they launch a project and they don't tell me, and they say, okay, that's a good idea, do that. And then we don't talk for like half a year or something like that. And then after half a year, I'm like, oh, you are like running this node, and what's happened to it? So one time I get the answer like, yeah, we're still running it. And I was like, oh, what's up with it? And he said, I actually spent almost no money on this node. To support it, I had equipment already. And I earn about $250,000 a month. If you're lucky, you can get to that. But if you're less lucky, you can get much lower numbers, of course. And most of the time, you'll get low numbers until you understand the market, until you understand what is the development team, how it should look, what is the project, how quickly can you jump into the new project. Is it a week? Is it a day? Is it a month? Right? And then also consider, what is your investment? Maybe you earn $29,000. But then you spend 29 the same amount on electricity, and you earn $30. But still, you might want to do it because it's helping network, or you might not want to do it after 6 months or after 3 months, and seeing this gives you negative negative net profit, negative total. It gives you negatives. And then you might want to stop it, and it's up to you because you are a part of the network, right? Some people can jump on and jump off the ship. So totally, if you want to try, do that. Sometimes it might be fun, sometimes it may be a lot of money, sometimes it might be not. I would usually say it really depends on your investment in the project. Not only money, but your experience and your time spent. So if you're gonna, maybe ask other people, talk to developers, see how they're going, talk to other people, ask if there are nodes, why are they doing it, why they are not doing it, and so on and so forth. Then maybe you can come to some good conclusions, and maybe you will find it worthwhile. And if you run 10 nodes, and most of them are not profitable, but one of them is profitable, like I just told this history about 250,000, and it will cover all of the costs for a long time, why not try it? Of course, it's sort of random, but if you want to make it less random, you can go with some nodes. I thought there was like one more slide, but whatever. You can go with some nodes that are well established, right? For many, many years they are working, predictable. The downside with going with these nodes, they usually require a bit more investments. Let's say you want to run an Ethereum node, which is like, it's a second blockchain, come on, it's like the largest node that you can run, maybe comparable to Bitcoin, depending how you compare it to Bitcoin, but it's a very large node, and so if you want to run the pure one, like the original, and if you want to stake on it, on the network, right on the Ethereum network, the stake price is 32 Ethereum. At some point, 32 Ethereum was like $1,000 or $500. It was not a lot. But nowadays, 32 Ethereum is $111,000. So then you need to buy equipment for maybe, let's say, $1,000, and you need to invest $111,000 into Ethereum. Of course, when you sell this Ethereum, when you sell this node, you get the money back. However, how many? Nobody knows. Probably Ethereum will grow and everything will be fine, but nobody knows for sure, right? It might drop in value. Maybe your node will burn down and you cannot sell almost anything out of it, unfortunately, right, in this case. So you need to consider risk, of course, always, and think about it, and do your own research. Do your own research always. Yes. So that was my talk. I hope it wasn't too boring. These are my contacts, and we will move to networking session after this, and I will talk about it after I turn off the mic and shut off the stream. But we will have it. The networking session is going to happen really nearby, so it's one of two places that are either 100 steps or 150 steps. So one of these two places, yes. Yes, and that's it for my presentation. And do you have any questions, guys, by the way, before we conclude? Yes?
Do you think you can share the slides?
Absolutely. I can not only share the slides, but I always post the slides. There was first presentation on our website, so itmeet.top/presentations. But you can just go to main page and just click presentations. And it will most likely be shared today or tomorrow. Other than that, I can also email it to you and so on and so forth. These slides are all public. You can also take any info from them and share and talk and so on and so forth. And if you're interested in discussing it more, please stay for the networking. Or if you don't have time to stay for networking, just contact me through the socials. Let's talk about it more and let's involve more people into this. And because this is a really exciting area, and I feel this is a lot of it's quite underexposed. More questions? Yes.
Are you planning the session for dummies?
Session for dummies. You mean like a masterclass when you run a particular node, or what do you mean?
Yeah, something like this.
It's very likely. It's very likely. This is like one of the formats that I think we should do. However, this setting might be okay, might be not. I don't know. So at the point when we have enough requests and enough people, like 10, 20 registrations or something, that people would really like to try something and they know what they want to try, absolutely, yes. Let's make a session, and that was the kind of intention of this presentation, anyways, to try to start or kick off something. More questions? Yes.
If you had like $1,000 to start with, what would you do?
I have $1,000 to start. What would I do? So that is a great question. Well, it's hard to tell now because I know quite a lot of crypto nowadays. But if I would know a bit less, even now maybe the answer would be the same for all the options. Then I would probably split it to at least 3, maybe 5 piles, maybe 10. So 3, 5, or 10 piles. We'll probably split it to 5 piles. So then we have $200 in each pile. Of course, we will need to invest a couple of $100 into tokens of some projects if we get to use the project that we want to run the node from. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's not. So maybe, let's say $300 we will spend on the investment in these 5 nodes. Some of them don't need money, some of them need. Then the rest $700 we invest in the equipment and then to the electricity of this equipment to run, let's say for 6 months or a year horizon. And then we say, you know what, you don't even need monitoring at this point. You can say, okay, this is my guidelines. I can record when I started, how much money I used, how much money I earned, once a month, or once in 2 months, or quarterly, or you decide, be yearly or something. And then you go to these guidelines and you follow them, and then you see, okay, if that's interesting for you or not, if you want to invest more into the same projects, or if you want to invest more in the new ones. I would probably go for another $1,000 like 6 months later to 5 new projects. That would be me. But you can also decide. Maybe you like one of these 5 projects and you join the team and you would actually invest time in them. But if you can invest time in them, then you probably get money back from them, both from your node and also from being in a developer team that is getting a salary, basically, right? In all sorts. It may be in crypto, it may be like a fiat money or whatnot. Yeah, so really depends. But I would definitely split. What would I split? Because don't carry all your eggs in one basket, right? So the same as crypto investment. Whenever you invest in crypto, in crypto nodes, or in anything else, don't invest all money into one project. Unless you're ready to lose them, I guess, maybe it's still a bad idea. So if you're going to invest in metals, buy a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, a little bit of platinum, a little bit of something else,
Maybe buy new materials, some new materials, or invest, not directly buy, or maybe directly buy, some people store silver in their houses or whatnot. Yeah, so diversification is the king, and then king, and then out of this, probably you can get some good results. At least some of the results should be good. That's how I think. Yes.
Yeah. Why do you self-host it compared to, for example, renting more like higher spec servers online?
Yes. Great question.
Master nodes?
Well, why are we self-hosting? Well, I would say two reasons. No, three reasons. So first reason is basically security. I do not trust any clouds, and I definitely advise you not to trust any clouds. Not because they are bad, but because they can be hacked, the traffic can be sniffed. It could be encrypted, but still you want your encrypted traffic to be sniffed. It can be blocked, your traffic, right? It's also less stable, it's also slower. When you have a machine right here, you have a local connection to it, it's so much better. I worked in Google, I'm not in the company itself, but with the Google Cloud. I worked with Amazon Cloud, and I wouldn't say they are horrible, but they are bad. They are bad. Compared to this Xen that I just showed you, they are very slow. So security, speed, second reason price, third reason price. So buying this server is $3,000. If I will have to buy some high-spec server, I would at least pay the same amount every month. Yes, I will not pay for electricity, but Amazon still or Google still pays for electricity. So they will charge me more for electricity. They will charge me for servicing, and they will do the servicing their way, which I don't want to do. I don't want to do the service for this cloud their way. I want to make my own way because I know which way works. And if my assumption about the way how it works is bad, then everything will went on fire and will break, and I will learn and I will switch my approach, which to do in the cloud deployments. Sometimes it's easy, but most of the time it's not. So if let's say I want to switch from Docker to Podman in the cloud. Maybe in Red Hat OpenShift cloud I can do that, which sort of allows that there by default. But in the Google Cloud, in the VM that's already deployed, probably I can install it from the inside of the VM, but that would be not nice. Can I inject? It's finicky. When it's all yours, you can do whatever you like with it. So unless you get a whole access to the data center, maybe co-location. Co-location, maybe I would suggest. But again, co-location is something you would do if you have enough money, because it's expensive. And if you really want to run a lot of servers which are loud and noisy and power hungry somewhere else, then you do co-location. Co-location is all right. However, you are still tied to the providers that the data center provides you. So some limitations there. And with your own node, you can easily carry it around. Of course, if you do co-location, you can also take the node out. Not with all the providers though. So let's say if you take co-location from a provider, and if the provider gives you the server, they usually don't allow you to take the server out and put to the different data center. So it's not really yours. You're sort of still renting it, even though you're co-locating it. So it's a weird situation. I would not advise. Any other reasons? Well, slow. I told security. I talked. It's just not affordable, I would say, most of the time. So if you're doing it in the cloud, it can be affordable, but you need to know what you're doing. So if you, like I usually, when I start a new project, I found a new project, I don't know what they're doing. And the guys who are making the project, they also don't know what they're doing. So we're sort of going a little bit, we already see something, but not entirely fully, like vision, right? Like a cat that just opened his eyes, so he already sees the one, but not entirely. He didn't experience it all. So we're kind of in that spot, and we want to research and see where we can go. But with the cloud provider, you don't want to go to cloud provider unless you already know, okay, this is my hard requirement, this is my hard requirement, this is how it's going to go. You know, your just traffic flows at random time because you get DOS attack from someone, and then Amazon sends you a quote for $500,000. And it happened with several people, and it could happen. With your private network, maybe your provider cuts you off from the internet, but that's all going to happen. Maybe they send you a quote of $1,000, okay? But then again, dealing with $1,000 versus $500,000 is a different story, right? So, yeah, there are many reasons, I would say. Of course, I'm not saying that cloud hosting is
is a bad thing. It's not completely impossible. It is doable, but usually I would prefer, if I go with the cloud, what I suggest, especially for nodes, try to find fixed rates because of these jumps. Sometimes you can use, most of the time you will use 5%, 10% of your server, but sometimes you will use 150% of your server. And at that time, when these providers like Amazon and Google will bill you to the sky. So you don't want this to happen. And you can limit it. I think they put some like limiters in there so it doesn't happen anymore, but they are like external limiters. So they say, okay, it looks like this is not expected to happen, let's stop it here, but you need to pay us $32,000 instead of $500 million. So, a bit less, so you still need to pay. Yeah, so any other questions? Yeah. One more?
Can't you put a limit on how much they can bill per month?
Yes, but as far as I know, for now, they are just developed the ways to do it. So theoretically, if you're a really big customer, you can go to Amazon and say, Amazon, we're going to pay you $100,000 every month, not more. If you charge us more, we have agreement here. You are actually not providing what you said in your agreement, right? So you are misaligning the business model. So we can go to the court. But if you're a smaller person, you usually cannot do these agreements. And if you want to put the limits that they made, as I said, these limits are sort of put on top. So they are not instantaneous. As far as maybe something improved a lot, because I have not followed for a couple of months, maybe Amazon and Google, about the limits. But I know it was horrible, and even after they implemented these limits, people still kept getting high quotes for something that they have never done. Like, let's say, DDoS attack to your server. That happens all the time, with not only with crypto nodes, but with normal websites. And then you get DDoS attack, and if you pay per use, you will have to pay for the DDoS attack. And the DDoS attack usually generates 100,000 of terabytes of traffic. And then you can check what is the price per terabyte to know how much you can pay. More questions? No. Okay. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. And all other questions, if you have any extra questions, we can discuss in the networking session further on. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you had some interesting insights. And see you on the networking. All right. So, Antonio, could you stop the stream and recording? There's two buttons on there. Thanks. So about networking, we do have two locations. One location is Scraplonet, which is in the bar, like in here in this corridor. We need to. That's correct. And we need to check if it's open or not, because space sometimes closed. And if they are closed, then we go to the track